This is a take two. I doubt I get it as first as the first. As good as the first take. But today we're going to be making an Inceldom video. You know, discussing things that can lead to it, or how to escape, and the things in society that can lead to this state of existence a person can face. I struggled mentally with deciding to make this video for days because I do view myself as a feminist ally, or at least a feminist, because I do believe there is more conversations that we need to have, more policies to be made, and more changes in our behavior that we need to make about, gender, whether, it's being the male, female binary, about how we treat women in society, because women are still victims of things like, assault and violence at a very high rate. Women are victims of, try to get a job. They can work really fucking hard, and because they're a woman, their pay don't increase and they don't move up the ladder in a company. And also, the commodification of females, where people feel like women are not human beings, that they're, objects to be, purchased or won or bought and stuff like that. So there are many more conversations that we will be having on this channel about the way that women are viewed and treated. But today I want to make an incel video. And like I stated before, I struggled mentally with deciding to I want to make this video or not. Because the idea of this video is to bridge a gap and tell a second side of the story, because I'm probably the internet's only leftist incel that will probably put in like 2 or 3 cents in on this matter. A lot of this is going to be unfortunately emotional. Usually I got like historical data and stuff like that, but a lot of things I'm discussing, either A, doesn't have data collected about it, or the phenomenons are too new to the point where people don't have, they've never researched or gathered data about the problems that I will be discussing in this video, which is going to be Inceldom. And to get an idea of the type of people we talking about, I don't want to say, use this guy Gideon, if that's how you say his name, as the person that is the incel, but more his chat and the weird things that they will be doing. I'm gonna only let them yell probably 2 times to get the message across. I'll try to turn down the volume, as much as I can, to make sure that the because this guy yells like, and it's really fucking annoying. I'm gonna try to make sure that it doesn't blow your fucking ears out, because he gets really loud. He's really fucking I'm not gonna say childish or anything, because that's how some people are. That's how they get their viewers, and that's their personality on the internet.
Recently, the Twitch streamer Pokimane has went private on Twitter and renamed herself the Incel Slayer. After this happened, a lot of big creators took to Twitter to speak out against misogyny that happens towards big female creators, with a specific emphasis on Pokimane. So the question is, why is this long overdue discourse happening now on Twitter, and stemming from Pokimane in particular? At first I thought it was the backlash she got from recently breaking copyright law on Twitch, but then after a bit of research I came to find out that this generalized discussion actually originated from a specific incident involving Pokimane and a 3 million sub YouTuber called Gideon. Now, despite his huge following on YouTube, he actually only recently started streaming on Twitch, and on the 11th of January he finally got Twitch partner status. So in his infinite wisdom, during his first stream as a partner, he decided to go after one of the most important streamers on the platform, Pokimane. Here is what he said.
Follow her right now. We're gonna be back, y'all. We will be back. Yo, nigga, let me follow her! Yo, what the? Bro, what the fuck? You know, she's making a sick ass face. She's seated here. They moving the sub only?
No, not yet. A little bit longer. I just want to get a little more context of the type of things that I'm talking about. I think that's enough for the context of the video that I want to make now. I'm really not focusing necessarily on him. I'm more so focusing on his audience and what could lead somebody to, because it's like this, like from people like him to pickup artists to incel leaders like Stefan Molyneux or Nick Fuentes, which is as bad as it gets, to neo-Nazis and shit. Why do people come to these, far right conclusions or these conclusions about women and about life and about society? I'm gonna get pretty personal about myself. I'm gonna keep it vague, but you can trust that I've been through some of these things that I will discuss in a second. And I done heard so many, because I'm, I'm big into nerd culture. I go to cons, I guess I go to skate contests and stuff too. You can count that. And, I collect action figures, like I said previously in a lot of the videos, to all different kinds of music and stuff. So, I'm always around people that are, so-calledly rejected from partaking in society as a normal person, I guess you can kind of say. I wish I could have worded that better. I see why motherfuckers do scripts, but anyway, with that said, how do people come to these conclusions? And I just want to put out there that it's not overnight that people come to these conclusions. People face a lot of traumatic experiences by both men and women that cause them to have many different mental health problems. I'm not a mental health expert, so I have no right to be diagnosing people with anything. But, from what, I've done heard, like social anxiety, ADHD, like depression, mood disorders, and, anger management issues. And it's all caused by a lot of bullying and harassment from both men and women against people inside certain subcultures and subsects of life. But before we get to all that, we should say this. Harassing women on the internet is not going to make life better for anybody. Trying to make women second-class citizens will not make life better for anybody. So if people out there believe that this is going to be one of those videos, or they believe that, that's the way to fix like life's problems, you're completely wrong. Because one thing a lot of people will find under fascism, even a lot of black men that will subscribe to that thinking about women, me formerly, is that everybody loses their freedom. In a society where women are not allowed to control their bodies and they are not allowed a life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness just like men are, everyone loses their freedom in many different ways. The women you can meet and associate with, you dating interracially, you women coming into like dominated spaces, like whether we talking like skateboarding or watching anime and cosplaying, or of course gaming, like that Pokemon person was. When you kick women out of these spaces, you make it harder for them to come into spaces where they could develop different opinions and understand things that they may not be familiar with or are used to. And I'm going to talk a lot about bullying. I kind of started out with that. And it's too bad that there's no statistics and data collected on the kinds of people that are bullied versus, how often bullying happens. Like I might look up something and it says like, okay, 4 in 10 children would experience bullying growing up for many different reasons. But it's not going to come onto the note and say like, oh yeah, this person like this person like that, this person did this person does that. But what I will comment on from my personal experience and many others is that, people got a real problem with giving, so-called nerdy people a hard time. And that really needs to stop. because these people face many challenges simply trying to go to school, and even sometimes face some of these same challenges in their 20s. And we stop talking about women for a second, and we could talk about toxic masculinity. Getting bullied, cornered in the bathroom and forced to fight, or getting jumped, having your stuff taken from you, having your cards or action figures or whatever knocked out of your hand, having expensive items like your computer or laptop stolen or broken. And a lot of guys grow up dealing with that, and then on the back of that, the knife in the back is dealing with the fact that it feels like no woman respects you, and no woman will ever seriously give you the time of day. And I'm not saying that women should just, if you want to stop a so-called psycho or something, you should just go have sex with them. I'm saying that there's a lot of terrible women out there that contribute to the society in which these people have their beginnings, I should say. It's a lot of women that use people. It's a lot of women that rig people into fights. It's a lot of women that pretend they like people to get what they want. And it's essentially for no reason. Because the things that people do for fun and the things that people love, if it's not hurting anybody physically or mentally, there's no reason people should be rejected from society to a point where they see fucking Nazism as a point of, fixing their problems in society. And I feel like people might be asking, so what are you saying we should do if we shouldn't just go up fucking people? I'm gonna count 10 seconds about Mississippi in my head, and I'm gonna do the thing that people can do, for nerdy guys or even some nerdy girls. If you don't want more people turning towards Nazi Inceldom, this is all you gotta do. And I counted to 20 just in case, because I know seconds are actually pretty slower than people would imagine. Then you count to yourself mentally. Seconds are slower, like I'm aware of that, so I gave it a count of 20. But being quiet and not bothering people for the things that they like to do for fun is a good way to emotionally, help people that are having a hard time in life and being in what different ways rejected from normal society. A lot of people say go up to them and talk. A lot of people don't want people going up talking to them because they don't trust anybody already. So the best thing that you can do is leave people alone and let them enjoy their life the best they can in between all the nonsense that they have to deal with for simply being who they are. Because it seems like, to me and a lot of other people in society, it's okay to be a guy that likes to go to the gym. It's okay to be a guy that likes cars. It's okay to be a guy that likes sports, basketball and football. But the second a person is into different types of music, the second a person puts on, an anime t-shirt, the second a person decides to live their life differently from normal people, they have to deal with a lot of bullying and social ostracization, and that can turn to anger and hatred. Thinking of James Hake, dumbass. But it turns to anger and hatred, and it can lead them down dark paths to people like that jackass. I think he's more in the making money thing. That's the only thing Gene cares about. He's a Twitch streamer. But, people can go from him or people like him, and then they can wind up at Stefan Molyneux or Nick Fuentes because of all the hatred and vitriol they had for simply trying to do their best and be themselves. And there is no reason why anybody should be picking on these people, because you got to know what it's like, man. I've been through it. You got people that were, 2,015 pounds. You got, I guess I'm thinking back to the years, but you got people that were like, people that are 215 pounds at 14, might be on the football team and shit. And you got this guy that's about 141, 145, and this transcends races. This is not a black thing. And you got this guy picking on him, emasculating him, making him feel like less of a person. And then other people get in on it. And then there's a lot of women out there, like I said, that starkly contribute to it because they try to use people to get things that they want for free. And I feel like at the end of the day, if you don't like how somebody carries themselves or like the things that they do, you just shouldn't have contact with them. It's not difficult to just, if you see somebody on their computer, whether it's at school or at college or in a cafe, you see somebody looking up toys or watching clips of Dragon Ball Super, you can just keep walking. You don't have to pick on people for being different or liking things that are not the norm, like, fitness or, trap rap and, what have you, or clothing. And this actually is pretty shorter than, I thought it was going to be for that segment. Before we make fun of the Jubilee guy, I will say this to all the incels out there, because I'm currently going through a phase of it myself. And I actually give some legitimate advice on things that you can do to make your life a little bit better. Number one, view everybody as a new person. Just because you've been through something bad or negative with someone else, some other woman, you shouldn't paint the picture of or blame all women for your past misfortunes, especially if you're just coming out of high school. Because what you will find coming out of high school is that there's more a variety of people that you will be introduced to, and you don't want to turn off or curse out somebody that could have possibly been that woman that you found that made your life better. Number two, take care of your hygiene, which sounds ironic, but at the same time, you don't heard that from all the other leftists and shit, but yeah, you really should. I believe most nerdy guys do take care of their hygiene, but, that's the thing that people like to say. Try to do your hair a little at least. Make sure you take you a nice shower at least, once a day or something like that, and brush your teeth. And try to wear clean clothes. It's okay to have your own style and stuff, because, I got my own style. I dress like an early 90s skater and stuff, but all my clothes are always clean. And number three, it's so when you try to find women to bring into your life, don't have super high standards, and don't fall into this pit of, oh, she's too fat, oh, I don't like this race of woman, I don't like her because she did that. And don't assume stuff about them either, like, oh, that girl had sex before, she's a HOE. Make sure that you give every woman that comes into your path a chance. I'm not saying be nice to them and bootlick them, but I'm saying don't harass them, don't discredit them, and don't push them out. Which I guess could lead me into a fourth thing, which I mentioned earlier in a certain way. Do not push women out of our spaces, so-called spaces. It's not our spaces, it's a space. If women want to game, if women want to watch anime, if women want to collect action figures, if women want to skate or anything else, you have no right to stop them. And think about what you're doing pushing them out. Because the more women you push out of our spaces, the less women can go back and tell other women, like, hey, this stuff is pretty fun, these guys are pretty good. So you make stuff worse and harder, and you set us back every 10 years with every woman you harass, every woman who you bullet point at GameStop about how many Call of Duty she's played and stuff. So stop doing that nonsense where if a woman is partaking in some activity that you like, instead of cheering them on or helping them, don't, like I said, question them down or make them feel like a bad person for attempting to be in a new space. Because, more people are trying new things. And I will say that also is that, yes, things are getting a little better. You have like emo rappers and famous people saying that they like to watch anime and stuff, but there's still a lot of uphill battle. And you can help with that by simply being nice to people when they're trying something new. And is there anything else I wanted to add to this situation to say? But in conclusion, I guess to this part of this video is that the reason why a lot of people wind up on incel forums or in audiences of, MRAs or pickup artists or neo-Nazis and fascists is not because these people are preordained, because, the world is more complicated than that. I feel systems and events lead people to certain conclusions. And these people, even the Nazi incels, were not necessarily, God ordained, or, if you don't believe in God, that's cool with me, to wind up the way that they are. It's a long and gradual process caused by pain through bullying, insulting, and harassment that winds up leading them to far-right or anti-woman conclusions. And the last thing I would say, if you do call yourself a true leftist or even a liberal, if you see somebody getting bullied, you should do something about it. And I'm not saying jump in it and fight for them. Tell the teacher. If you're in public and y'all grown and you hear one of your friends saying something messed up about somebody because the way that they dress, step in and just say like, hey man, they ain't really bothering nobody, man. Let's go over here. Do what you can to help reduce harm in the world. And not just against our economic and, social system. I guess this is a social system in a way. But like I said, it's not a name for it or anything. I guess it's cultural norms, but, do your part to make sure that a person can sleep well and feel a little bit more normal at night. And, feel like someone cares. Just, do your part as you can. And a lot of incels should know is that the world the way that it is not the fault of feminism when it comes to these cultural and social norms. It's probably more related to toxic masculinity, where people view, strong men, weak men behind computer and shit like that. Says the person in front of a computer right now, but that ironically works a factory job. But, those social norms that we deal with are more products of toxic masculinity than they will ever be feminism. And segueing into the next segment of this video, we're going to make fun of the Bumblebee incel guy today. I might not go too, well, no, I'm going too hard on this guy. Well, I am going to go hard on this guy. This Bumblebee incel guy is a neo-Nazi. And I want to prevent as many incels as I can from winding up on any of his, subreddits or Discord servers. Like I said, not just him, if it's Fentaz, if it's Molyneux. I want to protect people and let them know that it's leftists out there that know your side of the story. And people like this that want to take rights from women is not the answer. I wonder, was it a longer video than that, or if it's the one that's only 8 minutes? Let's see, that's the men's rights one. I was thinking about doing that one. And, no, it's not. Ooh, and before we click on this video, the most important piece of advice I can give somebody, okay, if you identify as an incel, and let's say cut it out, you can, yeah, I'm laughing at the video, not about, because I'm taking this really seriously, but I guess I'm laughing along with it to kind of help break my own tension. But if you have a friend that so-called has a lot of sex, is always getting girls, and they're boisterous about it because you might be a virgin or might have a hard time finding partners, and they're a person that's always like, oh yeah, I was fucking this one girl, and then they trying to tell you sex stories. Or if every time y'all come in contact with women, they try to say that you're a virgin or something like that and put you on blast. They try to call you the V word. I know how it feels from when I used to be one, and I'll never forget. You got to stop hanging around that person no matter how long you knew them or what you knew them from. And even if it's a family member, you remove yourself from among people that seek to make your life harder by putting you on blast and not actually being helpful and giving you real advice that could make a difference in your life. You get away from people like that. Like, period. Because I know what that's like. And that person is, no matter how much they say to your friend, that person is aware, like, at the emotional damage. It's like they're swinging a fucking baseball bat at you. They're aware that this stuff is hurting you, or shooting you, I should say. They aware that what they're seeing is hurting you. They're doing it on purpose, and they know that they're, chastising you for something that truly, at the end of the day, may or may not be your fault. So if somebody is in your life, it can be a father, a brother, or a friend that's constantly trying to talk about sex, that's constantly talking about the women that they've been with, that's constantly putting you on blast at parties or on Xbox or PS5 at this point, in the lobbies or in the parties. You remove yourself from being around that person, because like I stated before, that person is doing it on purpose. They are aware of what they're doing, and they're not going to stop. And they're going to make you feel worse every day. And they might, do other stuff for you as a friend, but they are aware that they are emotionally taking advantage of you for things that you really don't necessarily have control over. With that said, it's Bumblebee time, and not the good one. Not the Transformer character. And I guess we can turn. Oh, it's turned up good.
Destroy you. You don't deserve to get laid at all.
So we found those subjects in person, rented a space in Hollywood, and invited our audience. Light on this community.
Fuck you. I'm bridging the gap. Not you.
Is a very negative light upon it.
Okay. And do you think that's a good thing?
Yes.
It can be, depending on the way that you do it. I'm not gonna ruin this for nobody that's for people that haven't seen it before. But this guy's a piece of shit. And like I stated earlier in this segment, taking rights away from women is only gonna make the world a worse place to live. Or a country, however the fuck you wanna put it. And we don't need pieces of shit like you trying to lead people to Nazism through their misfortunes in life, instead of actually trying to give them advice to help them or getting a conversation started about bullying and mental health. Go fuck yourself.
Because a lot of the boys in this community aren't bad people.
But you
And they aren't, but they become bad people after listening to some of the shit that's gonna fall out your mouth.
a good handful of them are.
Not a good handful, I'd say a small handful.
Who hurt you, or what happened? What event sort of catalyzed
It's like I said earlier, for a lot of other incels and stuff like that, it's a combination of bullying, which can come from both genders. And I should also mention the fact that a lot of people complain that incels are just men who lack confidence, but that loss of confidence in human spirit just doesn't come just like, oh, I fuck it, I don't care. It's a gradual process of being worn down over time as you begin to, in a way, give up. After being rejected so many times, not just by women, but from society, certain people just begin to give up.
This way of thinking and you getting into this kind of research?
Society? Do you hate women? No.
He does, yeah. Like, he ain't got to none of his, maybe I should do, because I can upload the video to be as long as I want, or I could just cut the segment. He hates women. Best believe that shit. He's not just having a hard time fitting in. He's not just having a hard time finding a woman to talk to. This guy hates women.
No.
Do you have a female role model in your life?
A female role model?
Yeah, like
Angela Davis.
your mom or an aunt or a friend?
I mean, I love my mom. I wouldn't necessarily consider her a role model, but I
Or
do love
Mother
her.
Jones.
If a woman was elected as president of the United States, how would you react?
I don't know. It probably would depend on the...
He can't even like entertain the idea of a woman being president. A woman would do just fine as the president of the United States. The president, I'm not gonna say doesn't do anything, but it's just I mean, I feel like at the end of the day, it's just like any other job. I don't understand why the presidency is even put on like such a pedestal to the point that they feel like just because somebody was born with different chromosomes that they wouldn't be able to do it. Like, there's plenty of women out there that would be a better president than Joe Biden. Elizabeth Warren would be a better president than Joe Biden.
On the woman, I probably wouldn't be supportive of it, honestly, but...
Why do you
Can't
think
even entertain the idea, man. I mean, look, I wouldn't want somebody, let's say, like Liz Cheney or Marjorie Taylor Greene or Sarah Palin to be president. But if it's somebody like Cortez or Elizabeth Warren or somebody like that became president, I wouldn't mind it so much. Fuck it.
asking?
I do think that, men should be the leaders and women should be the caregivers and the
Men can be wrong about shit. Like, it's been times where I was in my one relationship and I got corrected, taught things, and learned new things about life because a woman educated me about things I didn't know. So being a man in the world functionally means absolutely nothing, dog.
the loving, supporting, and the teachers in some cases.
And men should be loving and supporting too. I believe what's this quote by Peter Cullen when he told the voice of Optimus Prime, this guy right here, his brother was giving him ideas on how his voice should sound. And he said, be strong, but you have to be strong enough to care. A man that is cold-blooded, always calculating how he can get ahead, is generally not a good person and will not be a good leader.
Since women of color or just women in general have been oppressed by certain systems and other oppressed communities, especially the LGBTQ plus,
Valid criticisms of society.
all those don't really fit with the spectrum that incels or you have been talking about. So why do you think your method of thought would help fix what we have today?
It won't. And she's 100% right. But I feel like people with mental health problems and ideas of toxic masculinity intersect with the way how incels are created and how they get funneled to this son of a bitch right here.
I probably wouldn't view the things you might view as oppression as oppression.
It's oppression if a woman works 5 years and then a man comes in 10 months and gets a promotion, but she has to stay in the same spot. It's oppression when a woman can't walk from dorm to dorm or to welcome center at at night without worrying about getting raped or without carrying a weapon or something like that. It's oppression when a woman won't get a job just for being a woman. It's oppression when people are still asking questions about what a woman can and can't do with her body, if she can have an abortion or not, when it's her body, so it should be her decision. It should be a question about if a woman wants to transition to become a man. Again, it's her body and it should be her choice. And don't get me wrong, incels face social rejection and, you know, mental health problems. But I believe we can have all these conversations together instead of doing what this son of a bitch is doing, trying to say like, oh no, that's not really oppression, this is oppression. You know, he's playing, you know, the classic like right-wing / white supremacist, oh, this is what black people face, but what white people have to go through, oh, don't even get me started. Now, if I was to sit down with this woman or pretty much any other feminist, and I would tell them about, like, you know, I would talk to them, like I said, about mental health problems and bullying and, you know, how certain people are treated for the things that they like to do. Those are conversations that they would entertain. And, you know, I, of course, completely did, because that stuff is factual. Even though it's nothing written about bullying, I don't believe in the types of people that get bullied. There are so many statistics out there, and so, like the Blizzard shit. We could talk about the Texas abortion law. We could talk about, like I said, before Trump got kicked out of office, he was trying to right away give people rights to adopt children and banning trans people from the military, and trying to ban them from getting being qualified for the American Affordable Health Care. We could talk about a lot of those things, bro. That's factual policies that's been passed to oppress, you know, these women and these queer people.
I have a feeling. I would view it more as how we treat children that we love. We control them, but we control them lovingly, not as a...
You see, I might have not had the best experiences with women, but one thing I do believe in for every human being on this planet, even if I disagree with them, is free will to believe the things that they want and live their life the way that they want to. You have no right, man. Women are not children. Women are not built by God, or if you don't believe in God, that's okay, to serve men. Women have their own lives. Women have their own motivations. Women have their own things that they want to live up to. And it's completely fucking ridiculous for you to jump your ass on here talking about, oh, they're children, we control them, but control them lovingly. No. There's a difference between stopping a woman from getting an abortion or dating a man that you may or may not dislike versus stopping a kid from eating paint chips or running into traffic to get a ball or something. These are two completely different things.
Slave, not as we're forcing them to do things against
That's the
their will.
very definition of slavery, bro. You are just fucking ridiculous. This video was worse than I thought it was, man. Because it's like I keep saying, like, I've been drugged through the fucking mud when it comes to women, but not once did it ever come in. Because, like, I watched this through a few other leftist streamers that inspired me to, like, start doing this. But, like I'm being vitriolic because this is fucking ridiculous, bro. What are you talking about? What are you on, man? Like, you talking about we control women and how they gotta be our slaves and shit like that. There is no excuse for that type of thinking. And it's like I stated in the first segment of this video where I was just kind of like monologuing. That will not make people's life better. That's gonna make everybody's lives worse. When you take away the independence of other people, things get worse.
A loving domestic
On so many different levels, economically and socially.
thing in the past.
Especially for women that won't have a choice of what they can and can't do with their life.
If we were to do it in a civilized way, maybe in a more, even a Christian way, even though I'm
And
not
don't
really
use God to justify what the fuck you trying to do, man.
advocating for a certain religion or ideology. I would assume that women would probably be happier. And I wouldn't just assume that blindly. I would assume that based on the data that I have seen.
What data have you seen? Thank you.
Seen that has brought you to this conclusion? Because I'm now curious where I can get this data from.
You stupid son of a bitch.
I couldn't reference it offhand, but
I know
believe
you
there was
can't.
a study that I can't remember.
I can't remember. Man, like damn, I had it earlier. I couldn't I had it. Get the fuck out of here. There's no data. I guess he's talking about the people that are growing unhappy thing, how women are unhappy in the job field and how competitive it is, but everybody is unhappy as a result of capitalism and white supremacy and right-wing social norms. That's why people are unhappy and why women begin to always be unhappy. Men are just as unhappy as women. Men or women don't like working every day for a living. Men or women don't like that they have to act or dress a certain way. Men or women don't like that they can't be in certain spaces or cultures without getting kicked out. It's men that want to do ballet, it's women that want to skate. But it's people like you that's keeping us divided by these arbitrary ass social norms that's making everybody miserable. People don't want to work for a living too. We can talk about that. How you got a lot of people that's, going to college and shit, eating noodles every night and working 2 or 3 jobs and getting yelled at by some Karen wine mom bitch that doesn't want to wear a mask.
What do you think it is about liberal areas that create behavior in women that you think is a problem?
Let me tell you that he's not anti-liberal as in anti-Democrat party. Because, I'm anti-neoliberal. He's anti-liberal in the idea of democracy and voting.
Promiscuity leads to increased standards in more primitive aspects, such as...
That's not necessarily what the problem...
Typically...
Shut the fuck up. You don't talk when I'm talking, dude. That's not necessarily directly what the problem is. And, I really can't connect those two things together. It really doesn't make sense, because if you're promiscuous, whether you're a male or a female, that means you'll fuck pretty much everything. And then what he needs to do is go talk to some people that's been in relationships. It's usually not that simple, because you can't. And then look, that's another thing. You don't have to partake in hookup culture. You can stand back and find a relationship like I did and like I'm trying to do now, and that's okay. Nobody's going to make fun of you for it. And if somebody is, you do what I said in that one segment when I was giving advice, and you just get away from them. It's all about the people who you hang around. Just because people are promiscuous is not necessarily the reason why people are having a hard time finding love, which is affecting both genders. If you ask me, I believe it's our American work ethic. The way that you work 24/7, you're not allowed to go to a bar after you get done working or something of that matter. And let's say you want to go to the bar and you want to meet you a woman or something like that. That's why you see a lot of rich and better off people meeting women and stuff like that and talking about, oh, because I make money, I get women. It's really because they rich and they got a lot of time on their hands. A lot of poor people, whether we talking, poor white people, poor black people, Latino, Asian, or whatever, people that work for a living, people that go to college all the time, doing all these essays and exams, or if you like me, where I work about between 50 and 72 hours a week, people are not getting relationships not because people are promiscuous. People are not getting relationships because people just don't have the time on their hands to maintain one.
It makes it harder for some people to find a relationship, including sometimes good-looking people. There's guys who are much better looking than I am, who are having a really hard time finding someone in a place like LA or in London.
It's because they don't have the time to, dog. You know how many hours you gotta work in LA to survive? Rent there is like $2,000 a month or more. No, I'm tripping. Excuse me, I'm thinking of Michigan rent, for a loft or apartment. Most, especially if you want a safe area in Los Angeles, a loft or apartment can be up to $10,000 or something like that, or $5,000 a month. So these people are just working a lot, not having a lot of conversations, not doing their hobbies. I guess, yeah, you're not partaking in your hobbies, so you are not able to date and to meet people as much as you would want to. And then, if I was to even take what he just said at face value, I kind of feel like it could possibly be baseless, because there's more ways that we can communicate with each other besides just talking out on the street and stuff. They got date naps, which are a whole nother can of worms, though. Who am I kidding? Date naps are bad.
New Zealand, but they probably would have find time finding a woman somewhere else.
So you think that promiscuity is the problem, and if people were more monogamous and more withholding, that would sort of fix society?
Yeah, I suppose people were more traditionalist.
There have been a few mass shootings in the
No,
past.
not really, man. Like that won't like really fix society. I feel like we need to, like I said, have conversations about toxic masculinity and social standards will fix this problem. And then everybody will be getting some of the free love, including me. But, making a society where, oh, you have to get married or we're going to shame you, it's just going to make people miserable. That's why the divorce rate spiked up so much in the 90s and 2000s. Because a lot of people were forced to be together because they had children or because they had sex. But it turned out at the end of the day, they liked how each other looked, but didn't like who each other were.
Where these shooters actually stated that they were incels or were radicalized by online incels.
Like
What do
you.
you think about their actions?
I condemn their actions. I don't believe violence is the solution. I don't believe attacking.
How do you think you're going to get your society without violence? The men that's going to stand by them, and you think that women are not going to resist this weird ass, because like anytime a fascist tells you that they're not violent, they're just lying, because you can't achieve a fascistic society. Like he wants a Handmaid's Tale world, basically. You cannot. I just got a new follower on Instagram. Strange. You cannot achieve a fascist society where you deprive somebody of their rights without violence. Jim Crow had a lot of violence through the state and police and through neo-Nazis and the Klan back in the day. Nazi Germany had Nazis and civilians partaking in hatred against Jewish people and LGBT people. The Israel-Palestine thing, lots of violence against Palestinian people, both by civilians and their IDF. You cannot oppress people or take their rights away without some type of violence, but down the line. So anytime a fascist or white supremacist tells you that, oh, I don't believe in violence, they're lying.
People is going to fix anything, whether they're, women or men. I do think that the reason why they committed those actions was probably because of out of desperation or out of.
And the reason why a lot of these dudes do this type of stuff, I'm talking over him because he's gonna give a bullshit answer, and it's just like, because I've been through it. I'm dealing with Inceldom right now, and it's like because he's a Nazi, and he's running through excuses, the worst like excuses instead of giving legitimate reasoning for why people do this. It's because mental health problems and cults of personalities like him and Nick Fuentes and Stefan Molyneux, they will light people's heads up with how the over-sexualized black man is taking all the white women. Women are parasites on men and stuff like that. They need to be, they famous when somebody needs to do something, but don't be violent. I don't condone violence, but man, I really wish somebody would do something. When they say this nonsense, essentially, another follower, weirdly enough, but when they say this nonsense like that, they are, doing that on purpose. They're purposely distracting from the fact that these people commit acts of terror, not just because, yes, they have mental health problems, but it's people like him that flare their minds up with half-truths, lies, white supremacy, and fascistic talking points, anti-feminist talking points that leads to these people wanting to commit violence against women. If you ever go to a far-right message board, be it an incel one or a Nazi one, they're always talking about killing people and stuff. It's like I said earlier, you cannot achieve this society without killing. Now, these are small acts of terror. I don't believe America is going to turn into, I forget the name of the state that America turned into on Handmaid's Tale. That is not going to happen. But, I really want to know today. But, yeah, it's not that simple. I want to know what the name of the country on Handmaid's Tale is. Let me see. Real fast. Sorry, it's going to be quiet for a second. Cause that's fucking with me. I watched that with a friend and stuff like that, and I cannot remember Gilead, however you want to put it. You cannot achieve a Gilead-like society without violence. Even though I don't think the United States is gonna ever be overturned or politically motivated to do anything by, incel terrorism. This terrorism happens because people with mental health problems, instead of getting the help that they need or coming across people like me that's telling them, okay, you need to calm down, don't take out your anger on women, it's not feminism, maybe it's some things you can do to improve yourself, I care because I'm one of you, or at least formerly was one of you to some extent. And try to reach because you got to reach your hand out, and you pull depressed and people with mental health issues, you're supposed to pull them up. But Brandy out here, he kicks you, he steps on your fingers, so you fall further into the the alt-right Nazi incel people like him, Sunrise Hoodie and shit like that. That's what they do, they step on your fingers. And instead of raising you up and making you a better man and questioning society and authority and questioning things like social standards, gender norms, and toxic masculinity, like I said, they kick you into the alt-right. They kick you further into Inceldom. They kick you into hatred. Somebody with mental health problems being fed hatred by these online ideologues, it's always going to be a chance that they will commit terrorism.
Problems that probably could have been prevented had the right support was in their community, in their household. If people saw what they were posting and saw what they were experiencing in life and did something to help them.
Was there like a pivotal moment in your life, like a straw that broke the metaphorical camel's back?
It's constant.
Every incel has one of those.
Rejection, no matter who the person was, constant years of rejection in other aspects of my life. It did kind of push me towards more, I suppose, radical beliefs, but I suppose they're only like
Radical. What kind of radical beliefs?
like radical, but they're more just old beliefs, really.
No, they're radical. Just because your beliefs are old don't mean that they can't be radical, dude. Just because you believe that women should not be able to have jobs and careers, because that's radical compared to the Overton window of politics, even though that piece of shit that was president previously swung it so far to the right. A world where women don't have the same rights as men, and women can't have jobs and careers, women can't have abortions, where women are back to being like housemaids and shit like that. That is way out. That is way outside the normal Overton window. We do not we do not talk about that kind of shit here.
No, it sounds like I had another metaphor like death by 1,000 cuts. It's not like one pivotal moment, but it sounds like a bunch of things built up over time.
Yeah.
And that can be absolutely true, though. I gotta defend the point that this regular guy just made, is that yes, when people fall into Inceldom, especially far right Inceldom, or like I said, general Inceldom, because it's color incels too. But some of them can be Nazis too, so I'm not kidding. But people don't fall into this overnight. It's a long process of being rejected from society in many different ways, where people will fall into Inceldom.
One of the common criticisms about the incel community is that you feel entitled to sex or intimacy. Do you believe that?
I gotta attack that one, because that is a weird thing. I mean, I guess to some extent, Elliot Rodger is a good example of that. That is someone who felt entitled to sex, entitled for women to just walk up to him and grab his private parts. But I feel like most incels that have not crossed the Nazi line just want a chance. Honestly, that's all it's about. It's not about being oh, you have to have sex with me, grr. And this is coming from an incel. A lot of people simply want a chance to talk to somebody special, meet somebody, and not be viewed as less of a person because the way that they dress or things that they like. So it's not always entitlement. That's a off and on thing. If you was to say that phenomenon, it's not really the solid concrete ideology of all incels.
Sex or intimacy from a woman. I think everybody at some level deserves someone that loves them and, respects them, as long as you are also loving and respectful towards that person. They're equal. You're not like seeking someone beyond yourself. You don't have like too high standards, I suppose.
If you can tell the world about
Okay.
something about being incel that that may not be in the internet or that's overlooked heavily, what would it be?
I don't know. I think it's mostly that most of the men are not inherently bad people. A lot of them are just lonely.
No, they are not bad people. Like some of the time, some are. Like, don't get me wrong, there's people out there that are just incels because they are pieces of shit. But a good amount of them are just simply good people who just had a lot of bad things happen to them in life, and constantly keep having bad things happen to them in life because of simply who they are. And sadly enough, these people, like I said, as they grow angrier, they grow more belligerent, they grow more, recluse from society. They come across people like Brindio's stupid ass, and they become fascist.
They just need some help, really.
And that's 100% true. And they don't even necessarily need some help. They just need somebody to just treat them like a normal human being, somebody that's not patronizing them. And not because, like I said, it's not about, oh, you seeing that they should just fuck. No. I'm saying just treat them like they normal people. That's all a lot of these guys are looking for. Not to be thought of as less of a human being because of the things that they decided they enjoy doing.
If there's anything that other people can do to help guide or just support or
The lonely person in your class or the lonely person in your workplace, maybe he's an incel and he's not letting you know, and he's just kind of afraid to. You want someone positive? Just be nice, say hi, try and make friends with him. You don't have to date him.
I could agree with that. Like, also, even though I think the best way to go still is by being quiet and not bothering people, but just don't do it in a patronizing way. Whether you're male or female, whatever. Just walk up to somebody, hey dog, how you doing? You okay? Like, that's interesting what you doing there. Or like, man, how your work coming along? You been all right? You need any help over here? Like, so man, we work together at this company. We I care. Or if it's somebody in the college class, like some, hey dog, you understand all the work, right? You got it. You don't have to talk like me. I got like this weird Southern California / Detroit accent, so I say like a lot of slang terms like dog or bro or dude and shit like that. But I'm just saying, like, that really can like help brighten somebody's days just by treating them like a human being. Just like like I said earlier, the metaphor of reaching that hand out and pulling them out of their depression and just letting them know that it is people out there that are caring for other people, and that's like, hey dog, I care about how you doing today. Some people can really use that.
You don't have to, whatever.
He's only saying it because it's convenient to make himself look good.
Brighten up someone lonely's day, I suppose.
okay, noted. Thank you. You don't want to be an incel?
No.
Why
Nobody does shit.
Well, I mean, it's part of the whole involuntarily thing. I mean, you want to try and escape it. You want to be something better. You want to get a wife, get a girlfriend, get someone who loves you, spend your life with them, and be happy. And
What's one thing you wish people understood better about you?
I don't know. I guess I wish people would recognize how much effort I'm trying. I suppose. Like, I'm working out typically daily. I've lost over 100 pounds. I'm out there job hunting actively.
I gotta give him this one.
I don't think people recognize how much effort the incels in general try to put into bettering themselves.
Listen to my homie Derek real fast.
I would say, people don't recognize their effort. They just assume that they're all like lazy and sad and angry at women and just giving up and things of that nature, I suppose. You don't have to see the bad things in the world.
Alright, she was wrong for making that face. like after he said all that, because I felt like okay, Brendio Derek here is a Nazi piece of shit, but what he said right there is 100% true. Is that men that are viewed as, you know, nerdy rejects or incels or whatever, or emo, however you want to put it, do put in plenty of effort to make their lives better. Like me, I work about between 50. I haven't worked less than 50 hours a week in like since April last year. It was the last time we was doing 40 hours. You know, people go clothes shopping, they clean up, they, you know, try to take a shower, they do their hair. It is incels out there putting in effort to make their lives better. And you shouldn't just paint all incels as these crusty, dirty guys jerking off to lolly porn and angry at women, because that's counterproductive, and it makes it harder to pull these people leftwards, or for them to go, you know, talk, whether it's just talking to a random person or from them going to therapy and getting help with their traumatic experiences, or them breaking out of it and becoming more of a confident person. When you just go around saying, like, you know, like I said earlier, if it's people around like that, oh, you know, males and females can do it. Like I said, I didn't like that face she made. I'm not defending Derek bitch ass, but I'm just saying, like, it is guys out there that are dealing with inceldom, you know, me and many other, that actually do put in a lot of effort to make their lives better and make them more of a marketable man. And that should not be like misunderstood or downplayed. And you shouldn't just be like, no, at it, because it is dudes out there trying.
Come out a bad person, you can just see the bad things in the world and then improve upon yourself.
But you are a bad person, though.
So you do have hope. Yeah, I have hope. Yeah, I'm a very hopeful person.
He must have watched Handmaid's
Oh, wow,
Tale.
this went a lot differently than I thought it would. I thought we'd be yelling at each other, you know?
It was nice to meet you.
It's nice to meet you too. Hello, thanks for watching the video. I hope you liked it.
Well, that's the
Sure to
end
like,
to
comment, and subscribe.
an emotionally driven, very personal to my heart segment, which I put a lot of thinking in and about my personal experiences, personal choices, and just you know, what I've heard over the years from people. And what I want to do with this video is not discredit feminism. I want to use feminism and leftist ideas, like, you know, caring about people's mental health, destroying toxic masculinity, and destroying social normality, to help people out of inceldom. And that's the idea of this video, is to help and educate people and tell both sides of the story. Because I feel like sometimes, I guess I'll end on saying this, I watch a lot of leftist YouTubers. I'm not sure how long this segment is, probably like an hour and 25 minutes. And you know, they get on these videos talking about incels, and they just do the thing that I talked about earlier. You don't get no vagina, you are a loser, you ugly, you should do, well, I don't call people ugly, you need to do your hair, and then it's just easy, you will get a girl. Nobody talks about the underlying social issues that different kinds of men have to face. And they just write it off as, you don't got a woman because you're not trying. Let's think a little more about this subject. Let's save some of these kids from becoming Nazis or pickup artists. Just think. Don't hit things with a blunt instrument on this subject anymore. Think about how things like bullying, and like mental health problems like social anxiety can cause somebody to have to face loneliness in their life. Plus our social norms and toxic masculinity, of course. But, you know, you have a nice day. If you like this, go ahead, give it a like. You know, maybe a sub or something like that. But this video is dedicated not only to helping myself, but getting the other side of the story out for many other people.